and we welcome you into this Friday edition of lcpioneers.com Live, presented by PioStream, as this is part of our way of keeping you connected with student athletes, coaches, and spectators of Lewis and Clark Athletics, alumni, members of the Lewis and Clark College community as well. 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Facebook Live, and available on demand. You can watch any of our past shows at LC Pios, our channel name at YouTube, youtube.com/LCPios. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark. We are the Pioneers out of Portland, Oregon, competing in the Northwest Conference, a member of NCAA Division III, with over 430 institutions nationwide, a chance for our student athletes to compete on a nationwide scale and opportunity against other teams from throughout the Northwest Conference. In Northwest Oregon, the state of Washington, we have 19 intercollegiate athletics teams and a great experiential liberal arts education in the heart of Portland, Oregon, and really great opportunities even with our overseas study program for our student athletes to get experience around the globe and really different facets of their education. That's what we've heard from many of our guests on the show is choosing major A, but really having an opportunity to explore a lot of different parts of the 4 years that they're at Lewis and Clark and dabble in some other things too. And overseas study has certainly been a part of that too. So we've really appreciated all the stories that we've had a chance to share over 20 weeks of doing the show. And again, you can see all of those past shows at youtube.com/lcpios. In a few minutes, we'll bring in our guest for today, a rising senior for Pios baseball. We'll talk to Sam Helms. He's a catcher for the Pioneers and is continuing to get a lot of practical experience in the medical world. He's a biology major from Arizona, and we were originally going to have him traveling today. So we're going to have like a roadside pit stop conversation with Sam. Instead, he'll be joining us from his home. He's delaying his trip a day or so before he heads to Portland for the fall 2020 semester. We invite you to get involved with the show. You can leave comments below on our Facebook Live show. You can also email us anytime, sports@lclark.edu. That's a great way to get a hold of the show because it gives you an opportunity to go ahead and reach out to us, share any information you have, whether it's about the show or maybe there's a guest or something along those lines you want to see come on to the show. We would love to have that feedback. Sports@lclark.edu. Also, at any point, you can reach us at LC Pioneers on Instagram and on Twitter. So be sure to check out those two platforms as well and share with us some thoughts you have on Pioneers athletics. Continuing to announce new recruits, and we have a whopper of a class coming from cross country, the first full year recruiting for head coach Matthew Barreau. He brings in 20, maybe even 21 student athletes when it's all said and done for the 2020-21 academic year. And you can see all of them right now at lcpioneers.com. We continue to release all of the incoming 2020-21 student athletes on our website and on Facebook as well, with different photo albums and such. You can read about their bios, why they chose Lewis and Clark. Also, our YouTube page, the playlist is there. All you have to do is click on the playlist tab at youtube.com/lcpios, and you can find our complete index of past lcpioneers.com lives. And so with that said, let's bring in our guest for today, a rising senior for Lewis and Clark baseball. We're proud to welcome in Sam Helms to the program. Good morning, Sam. Appreciate taking time to join us, and not from the roadside pit stop, as I mentioned, that we might have expected in our initial tease. But that said, I appreciate you being here. You're about to come back to Lewis and Clark for your fourth year. And I'm interested to know, like, what was it about going from Arizona to Portland, Oregon, and a chance to come to Lewis and Clark in the first place that made you choose LC?
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, first and foremost. Going from Arizona to Portland, Oregon is definitely a transition with the weather is a big factor coming in. But just knowing, like, when I was a kid, my grandparents, I traveled up to, it was more of like Eastern Oregon to visit them quite a bit. So I was kind of familiar with like the forest and all of that. So just going to Portland and playing baseball there, it was an adjustment at first, kind of getting used to the weather because in small increments, it's nice to have it rain. But coming from Arizona, with a background of like being sunny 365 days, then going there and having it sunny, not really knowing when the sun was going to come out was interesting. But, From the very first time I was up at Lewis and Clark, like a recruiting camp for baseball. Just being on that campus, it was really, like the landscaping, all of the people in the community, and just like the wide and like how vibrant it was just outside. It's like 10 minutes outside of downtown Portland, where it's kind of private and secluded. But then you have like downtown Portland, which is like 10 minutes downtown feel. So I think coming to Lewis and Clark was definitely
I think we're having, Sam, a little bit of issues with the connection on your side, so we'll have you flip it off the Ethernet that you had and maybe go back to the Wi-Fi or such. Let's take a break. We'll come back, try to lock in Sam's connection a little bit better. I've been having connection problems on my end too, so make sure we have it ready to go. We'll take a quick break, come back more with Sam Helms on lcpioneers.com live.
My favorite spot on campus is like right outside the Dovecote, little benches, and there's flowers growing there, and you can get a little coffee at the Dovecote and sit there.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the weight room. I get that everybody loves like the gardens or the manor house, but our facilities for athletics here are actually amazing too, and the weight room is definitely my favorite spot.
My favorite spot on campus would either be the glade outside of the athletic facilities or South Campus.
What is my favorite spot on campus? I really like the back porch of the manor house. It looks out on Mount Hood, and on a clear day, it's super beautiful just to sit around with friends.
Back on lcpioneers.com live as we're joined by Sam Helms, a rising senior for Pioneers baseball on the show. And we were just finishing up, you were talking about, your initial decision to come to Lewis and Clark, Sam. And I know that you'd kind of gotten into the Portland part when the connection was having some issues. So let's kind of revisit, Portland specifically and just the opportunity to have a major metropolitan area just 6 miles from your campus. What's that mean for you?
Yeah, the campus itself is about 10 minutes outside a really vibrant metropolitan town, Portland, and that in itself, because you have on one side of it, you have like a really secluded and kind of like personal and community at Lewis and Clark that seems like private, and you have that education feel, and then right outside of it, you can get the other side where you travel 10 minutes downtown, you're right heart of like downtown Portland, where there's so many things happening, so many events, so many great places to eat. It's just like I feel like it's a great opportunity as far as like jobs and opportunities available, internships. It means a lot, and I think it's probably the best. Like it's easily the decision I made coming out of high school. Because at high school, I thought that I wanted a big campus in the downtown area, but looking back, I don't think I could have made a better decision. And with Lewis and Clark's small classrooms and the rigorous academics there, where you have like personalized, where the teacher-student relationship, like they know your names, they actually like interact with you, remember who you are. You can go into their office anytime and feel comfortable. They reply almost immediately when you email them. And having that personal relationship, it kind of bodes well with like that downtown, have those personal connections where they really get to know you and can write like a really depth letters of rec or references and all of that kind of stuff. So,
Well, in relationships, I mean, you get a chance too with your coaches to have the opportunity to kind of build relationships within the program, both, very regular coach player relationships, right? But also talk about how Coach Kozdurka tries to help you get involved beyond just the aspect of baseball through connections in the coaching staff.
right, yeah. Coach Kaz from day one has impacted this program and turned it, completely transformed it. Especially after this is his fourth year now, it's like night and day coming in. And I think really what he does is he really wants to build us into, really good baseball players first and foremost, but also just building our character in and allowing us to be successful when we leave college. And I think those guys that graduated, our 4 seniors, are like a perfect testament to that. They go to, a couple of them got really good school, um, got into really good graduate schools. And it's just one of those things where not only are we playing baseball at a really high level, we're also getting the chance to be those student athletes and have those connections. And he wants us to be successful academics, and he wants us to, and he also create like, um, us impact in the community. He allows us to do, and it's not like it's, he's like bringing us into doing it. He just creates opportunities. And like Operation Night Watch was a team thing that we did last year. First and foremost, it was like a thing to give back and put things in perspective for a lot of guys, and how lucky we have it. And also it allowed us to bond and just as a team as well, and become that much closer with each other. But all the coaches that it's just a really tight family, and it's one of those things where I definitely didn't have it in high school, where the coach just as much about your success as he did you on the, like, as an athlete and as a person. I think all the coaches are invested in each individual person and their success afterwards.
Sam Helms joining us on lcpioneers.com live. And you chose biology as your path. That's your major. What are some of the areas where you've really enjoyed the major itself, a lot of the classes, but also areas to kind of expand beyond the classroom going into that major?
Yeah, the biology major, and that's kind of what I was thinking about chemistry as well. And I've kind of, with the liberal arts education, you kind of get to dip into different things. So I definitely have done chemistry, and a lot of things outside of, so definitely biology, kind of my, and actually, I guess fall semester, my junior year was really, it kind of turned to being something that was like more like really applicable. But after undergrad education, where we were doing a lot of research that had real life applications, where I was doing a molecular biology lab, I was studying cancer promoted, and then this last semester, before we had to leave and went online, I was doing neuroscience classes. I was doing a neurobiology class and a neurophysiology class, which are kind of right in my wheelhouse. I love neurology, the brain and the nervous system, and just being in the lab and seeing, like what you learn in class is being applied firsthand, like that, and just seeing like action potentials right firsthand. And it's just something that like you can't really get anywhere. I don't think you can get that a lot of places, and have the professor just kind of showing their own research as well, like integrating that into the curriculum, where they kind of piece and really their wealth of knowledge on the topic at hand. So I think just, as I go into my senior year, I think that's only going to be expanded upon as I go into class, which is going to come with a lab. I'm going to be doing a biochemistry class, and it's just really solidifying just a great foundation. Science and STEM can forward and apply to, taking the MPhil and getting into med school, and really becoming a neurosurgeon down the road.
And so, what was it about neuroscience that really appealed to you? Because I imagine, that's a tough field in terms of all the work that you have to put in to do that. I mean, I even think, Lewis and Clark well equipped with, a neuroscience minor. So I imagine that you have access to people to kind of help, bring that out. What was it about neuroscience that really stood out to you as a path for you?
Yeah, so it started back when I was 12 years old. I had actually had a tumor in my nasal passage, and it was a rare tumor, and I only found out about it because it felt like an extended cold, where I couldn't, breathe really well through my nose for a couple months, and then I eventually went to the doctor who diagnosed me with this tumor, and he happened to be a specialist in that category, and I had surgery when I was 12 to take it out, and for my parents, obviously, that was pretty traumatic. experience for them and really unknown. But for me, it was really fascinating, and I was really inspired by all like the technology and how much it had progressed, because my doctors told me like just a few years prior they would have had to do like some reconstruction where they would have left me with some lasting scars, visible scar later down the road. But now they instruments where they can go through like my mouth and my nose to make it a more manageable and safer surgery. So just that in itself made me want to, you know, pursue a career in the field and hopefully one day become the one of the like and just in Lewis and Clark having like neuroscience minor is big firsthand, and having amazing like Tiaz and Weissman to make up that program is amazing, because they have such a wealth and all the research they do as well in the field. Weissman and the zebrafish and Parkinson's disease, and then you have Velasquez doing Drosophila research and genome mapping and nicotine addiction. It's really inspiring to be in the presence and like and with a professor of that caliber and with all of that knowledge. So definitely I would recommend anyone interested in neuroscience to at least one of their classes, regardless of if you do the minor. It's definitely manageable, and I would recommend it's definitely worth taking it and learning something about neuroscience.
Sam Helms joining us on lcpioneers.com live Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, on Facebook Live and archived at youtube.com/lcpios. Let's close with this. We got your senior year coming up. Nothing is normal right now in terms of, you know, health, and you're in this medical field, and we're in the midst of a pandemic, and it's going to continue to unveil things that we probably didn't know a week ago about how our fall semester is going to go. With all of that said, you know, what are your expectations for the fall? What are some of the ways that you've been able to kind of persevere amidst the pandemic?
Yeah. So pandemic definitely changed a lot of things for us. Obviously, your season short, and then coming back, I don't think our coaches missed a beat at all with holding us accountable throughout the summer, both with our academics and on the field, and getting better technically. Our coaching staff has implemented book reading, that we met for like a book club and about, you know, being better leaders, being better both on and off the fields. And I also, my catching coach, Coach Tom Topham, we met multiple times over Zoom, and we also were able to really kind of connect with the pitching staff, as myself being a catcher. He allowed us to kind of contact all of those guys and really talk about things that we wouldn't have otherwise talked about the game, and little details about what makes them kind of tick as a pitcher. And that was really, really cool in itself. And it's not really a hard task when you're calling your closest friends and brothers like that. And so, out of the pandemic and going up there, I think it's going to be, it's different itself, but I think it's going to be something that we all rely on each other, because throughout this pandemic, we've had to come closer and kind of lean on each other a little bit more than we otherwise would have. And I think we're all better for that. I think obviously we've had to face ourselves physically, but I think like we are all we know so much more about each other, just staying in touch like that, and kind of really just reflecting on our own experiences. And now going up there, I'm really excited. Obviously, I'm going to be making my journey up there with Jordan Gonzalez tomorrow morning. And I'm excited to get up there and see some of the guys, both new and old. I'm excited to see our incoming freshman class, one of which is Luke Bass, just went to the same high school as Jordan and myself. And I'm really excited to integrate him and all the other incoming freshmen into the culture that we've built throughout these 3 years. And I think it's only up from here. And I'm really looking forward to, what we can make of it. And I think Coach Cause is going to do everything he can, just like he always does. He's very he's going to follow the rules, but he's going to get the most out of us and do it in any way he can. And I think that makes us, that's what makes him such a great coach and a great above and beyond what's asked of him. And he always gets the best out of us to where myself and the players around me, I feel like I don't have a choice but to leave everything out on the field. And for whatever time we have this fall and what spring looks like, I think we're just going to give it all we can, and we're going to leave it all on the field because I think we're all coming in a little bit more hungry because our season got canceled. So I'm definitely going to be, and I know guys around me want to get after it, do that we can. So I'm excited.
Well, stay safe. Safe travels on your way back up here. Sam Helms, thanks so much for taking time to join us on lcpioneers.com live.
Yeah.
Fun interview. Appreciate Sam taking the time. And originally I had planned maybe that to be a car side interview. We did have the release already of the baseball incoming student athletes, as he mentioned, someone from his high school joining the fray. You can find that going to the baseball page at lcpioneers.com and clicking on the news tab. It's like the third or fourth story down. So be sure to check all the incoming baseball student athletes on our website as well. We're trying residential internet connections all over the place and trying to make things work. And I know that wasn't our best show from a quality perspective, but certainly from a content wise, Sam, tremendous stuff. His story about pursuing neuroscience by and large because of his experience having a tumor when he was young. I love that story. I'm so grateful that he had someone who could help continue to have him thrive as a person by doing a surgery, and then in turn, that's something that he's choosing to pursue as well. And I think that's the most important thing to share about comparing a liberal arts education in a place like Lewis and Clark. You have biology and other science and STEM related majors, but he's a member of pre-med club and he's had this practical experience in conjunction with his liberal arts education. And even now, as the Center for Entrepreneurship and Leadership emerges, Lewis and Clark is really honing in on the idea of being able to critically think and have the flexibility to pursue different things in your life. And right now, as much that's in flux, it's really neat to see that, if someone wants to pursue engineering or a medical field, even with neuroscience, as he mentioned, Lewis and Clark has a minor specifically for that area. Really cool opportunity that sounds like he's taken the fullest advantage of. And that was a really fun conversation. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. And we will have it on our archive, youtube.com/lcpios, where you can see all of our shows over the last 20 weeks. And we go around the horn for the first time on Wednesday. We're expecting head cross country coach Matthew Barreau to join us. He will be our first repeat head coach to join us on the show. And then from women's tennis on Thursday, Madeline Landerfelt, followed by recently graduated cross country and track and field student athlete Miguel Haro Ruiz will join us on Friday. So look forward to those conversations next week. Still trying to pin down our guest for Tuesday. And once we do, we will definitely share that with you at lcpioneers.com/live. So for you watching, for Sam for joining us, I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. And please join us again next week, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, both on Facebook Live and at youtube.com/lcpios for all of our archive shows. Have a great weekend. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
My favorite spot on campus is like right outside the Dovecote, little benches, and there's flowers growing there, and you can get a little coffee at the Dovecote and sit there.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the weight room. I get that everybody loves like the gardens or the manor house, but our facilities for athletics here are actually amazing too, and the weight room is definitely my favorite spot.
My favorite spot on campus would either be the glade outside of the athletic facilities or South Campus.
What is my favorite spot on campus? I really like the back porch of the manor house. It looks out on Mount Hood, and on a clear day, it's super beautiful just to sit around with friends.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterim this year is how to communicate a vision.
My biggest takeaway from Winterim is probably the networking. Getting to talk to everybody, connect with people for the future is one of the most valuable things, and I did Winterim last year, came back for more this year.
I think a way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds, me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors, we really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, well, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.